I cheated after forgiving his affair. My kids now call me by my first name. I forgave him. That's what started all of this. Everyone told me I was strong, noble, a good woman. My therapist said forgiveness was healing. My mother said marriage was work. My friends said I was setting an example. But none of them told me that forgiving my husband's affair would be the match that lit the fuse on my own destruction. I'm writing this from my sister's spare bedroom. My children won't speak to me. My husband won't look at me. And the man I threw everything away for? He blocked my number 3 weeks ago. Let me go back. Let me tell you how a good decision turned me into the villain of my own life. My name is Amanda. I'm 34 years old. Or I was, when this started. Now I feel ancient. Hollowed out. Like someone scooped out everything that made me recognizable and left just the shell. I'd been married to Robert for 11 years. We had 2 kids, Lily, 9, and Lucas, 6. We had a house in the suburbs with a mortgage we were actually ahead on. We had family dinners. We had inside jokes. We had a life that looked perfect in Christmas card photos. And then I found the texts. It was October, 2 years ago. His phone buzzed on the kitchen counter while he was in the shower. I glanced at it. Just a glance. The preview showed a woman's name I didn't recognize and 3 words that made my stomach drop. Miss you too. I knew. Instantly. The way you know when you touch a hot stove. My hands were shaking when I unlocked his phone. The passcode was our anniversary. That detail still makes me sick. Her name was Rebecca. A colleague from his firm. The messages went back 4 months. Lunches. Late meetings. A weekend conference in Atlanta that made me want to vomit. Nothing explicitly sexual in the text, but the intimacy was worse somehow. The thinking of you messages. The inside jokes I wasn't part of. The my wife doesn't understand me cliches that I never thought my husband would actually use. I confronted him that night. He cried. Really cried. Not the manipulative kind, the broken kind. He swore it was emotional, not physical. He swore it was over. He begged me not to leave. And here's the thing, I loved him. Genuinely. Even with my heart in pieces on our bedroom floor, I loved him. So I did what everyone said was right. I went to therapy. We went to couples counseling. I read books about betrayal and healing. I journaled. I meditated. I forgave. It took 8 months, but I actually meant it. I looked at Robert one morning over coffee and realized the anger was gone. Just gone. I'd processed it, released it, whatever the therapeutic term is. I loved my husband again. Fully. Maybe even more than before because we'd survived something. That's when I met Nathan. He worked at the marketing firm handling our company's rebrand. I'm a project manager at a tech startup. Mid-level. Nothing glamorous but decent money, and I was good at it. Nathan was the creative director assigned to our account. He was charming. Funny. He had this way of making everyone in the room feel like the most interesting person alive. During our first meeting, he remembered everyone's names, asked thoughtful questions, made jokes that landed perfectly. I noticed him. Of course I noticed him. But I wasn't looking. I was married. Happily, I thought. The project ran for 3 months. Weekly meetings. Email chains. Slack messages about campaign concepts and brand voice. It was professional. Completely professional. Until it wasn't. It started with coffee. He suggested we meet outside the office to brainstorm without distractions. I said yes because it made sense. We met at a cafe downtown on a Tuesday morning. We talked about the campaign for maybe 20 minutes. Then we talked about everything else. He asked about my life. Really asked. Not the polite small talk questions but the deep ones. What did I want? What made me feel alive? When was the last time I did something just for me? I told him about Robert's affair. I don't know why. It just came out. Maybe because he felt safe. Maybe because I needed someone outside my circle to hear it. He listened without judgment. He said I was brave. He said forgiveness took strength most people didn't have. I felt seen. God, I felt so seen. We started meeting more often. Coffee turned into lunch. Lunch turned into drinks after work. I told myself it was networking. Professional development. I told Robert the first was meeting with the marketing team. Technically true. Nathan never pushed. He never made it weird. He just existed in this space where I felt appreciated and interesting and alive in ways I'd forgotten. 3 months into the rebrand project, we were at a hotel bar downtown after a particularly long day. The campaign was nearly finished. He ordered us both whiskey and said we should celebrate. You made this whole thing possible, he said. Your vision, your clarity. This campaign is going to be incredible. I felt a warmth in my chest that had nothing to do with the alcohol. I'm going to miss working with you, he said, and his eyes held mine a second too long. That's when I knew. This wasn't professional. This wasn't networking. This was something else entirely. I should have left. I should have paid my tab and gone home to my husband and my kids and my safe, healed marriage. But I didn't. I'll miss you too, I said. He smiled. Not the professional smile. The real one. We stayed until the bar closed. We talked about our lives, our dreams, our disappointments. He told me about his divorce 3 years ago. How his ex-wife had gotten bored. How he felt invisible in his own marriage. You're not invisible, I said. The words came out before I could stop them. Neither are you, he said. When we left the bar, he walked me to my car. The parking garage was cold and empty. He stood close. Too close. I could smell his cologne. Amanda, he said. Just my name. But the way he said it made my entire body feel electric. I kissed him. Or he kissed me. I honestly don't remember who moved first. It doesn't matter. I kissed a man who wasn't my husband in a parking garage at midnight and I didn't stop. We ended up at his apartment. I told Robert the first was staying at my friend Jenna's because we'd had too much wine. Another lie. They came so easily now. I slept with Nathan that night. And the night after. And twice the following week. I became the thing I'd forgiven. The thing that had broken me. The thing I'd spent 8 months healing from. But here's what I told myself, Robert did it first. Robert broke our vows first. I'd been the good wife, the forgiving wife, the one who did the work. Didn't I deserve something for myself? Didn't I deserve to feel wanted? Nathan made me feel like I was 25 again. Like I was desirable and exciting and more than just someone's wife and someone's mother. He didn't see my stretch marks or my exhaustion or my resentment. He saw me. Or at least that's what I thought. The affair lasted 4 months. I got sloppy. Started taking longer lunch breaks. Left work early. Stopped checking in with Robert as much. I was present with my kids but not really there. Going through the motions. Reading bedtime stories while thinking about when I could see Nathan again. Lily asked me once if I was okay. My 9-year-old daughter looked at me with these concerned eyes and asked if Mommy was sad. I'm fine, baby, I lied. Just tired from work. She hugged me and I felt nothing. That should have been my wake-up call. The fact that my daughter's embrace didn't reach me anymore. But I was too far gone. I thought I was in control. I thought I could manage both lives. The devoted mother and wife at home. The passionate, alive woman with Nathan. I actually believed I could keep them separate. Then Robert found the hotel receipt. I'd been careless. Left it in my coat pocket. A boutique hotel downtown. 3 hours on a Thursday afternoon. Charged to my personal credit card. He didn't yell. That's what I remember most. He just stood in our bedroom holding the receipt, and his face went completely blank. Who is he? His voice was quiet. Dead. I could have lied. I could have said it was a work meeting. A client lunch. Anything. But I was so tired of lying. His name is Nathan. Robert sat down on the edge of our bed. He still had the receipt in his hand. He looked at it like he was trying to solve a puzzle. How long? 4 months. He nodded. Just nodded. Like I confirmed something he'd already known. Is it still happening? Yes. That's when he looked at me. Really looked at me. And I saw it. The exact moment his love for me died. I watched it happen in real time. Like a light switching off. I forgave you, I said. The words sounded insane even as they left my mouth. When you cheated, I forgave you. I stayed. I worked on us. He laughed. Actually laughed. It was the worst sound I'd ever heard. So this is revenge? This is payback? No. I needed to feel. Don't. He stood up. Don't explain it. Don't make me understand. I don't want to understand. He walked out of the bedroom. I heard him in the kids' rooms. Heard him talking quietly to them. Heard Lily asking where Daddy was going. Heard him say he'd be at Grandma's for a few days. I stood in our bedroom, frozen. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. He was supposed to fight for me. He was supposed to beg me to stay. That's what I did. That's what the betrayed spouse does. But Robert didn't beg. He didn't cry. He didn't ask me to choose. He just left. I texted Nathan that night. Told him Robert knew. Told him everything was falling apart. Come over, he wrote back. We'll figure this out together. I believed him. I actually believed we'd figure it out. That maybe this was the push I needed. That maybe Nathan and I could actually be together for real. I drove to his apartment at 10 p.m. My kids were asleep. I left them alone in the house for the first time ever. Another thing I'd never forgive myself for. Nathan answered the door in sweatpants. He looked concerned. He pulled me inside and held me while I cried. What do you want to do? He asked. I don't know. I can't lose my family. He pulled back, looked at me, and I saw something flicker across his face. Something that made my blood run cold. Amanda, I care about you. I really do. But I'm not. I mean, you have kids. You're married. This was always just. He didn't finish. He didn't have to. Just what? My voice cracked. I thought you knew. I thought we both understood this was just fun. Escapism. I never meant for it to be serious. The room tilted. My knees actually went weak like in movies I'd always thought were unrealistic. You said you were falling for me. I was caught up. We both were. But Amanda, come on. You're married. You have a whole life. I'm just the guy you were having fun with. Fun. 4 months of my life. My marriage. My family. My self-respect. Fun. I left without saying another word. Drove home in a daze. Sat in my driveway for an hour trying to process what had just happened. I destroyed my marriage for a man who saw me as a distraction. A midlife crisis. A fun diversion from his actual life. Robert didn't come home that night. Or the next night. He stayed at his mother's. When he finally came to the house, it was with a lawyer's card. I'll make this easy, he said. I want primary custody. You can have every other weekend. I'll split assets 50-50. I won't drag you through the mud publicly, but I will tell the truth in court if I have to. Robert, please. Can we just talk? There's nothing to talk about, Amanda. You made your choice. I made a mistake. Just like you did. I forgave you. Why can't you forgive me? His jaw tightened. Because when I cheated, you fought for us. You demanded better. You made me accountable. You did the work. But when you cheated, you didn't come to me. You didn't confess. You didn't ask for help. You just kept lying until you got caught. That's the difference. He was right. God, he was right. What about the kids? What about them? His voice was ice. You left them alone at night to see him. Did you think about them then? My stomach dropped. He knew. Of course he knew. Lily told me, he said. She woke up scared and you weren't here. She called me crying because Mommy was gone and she didn't know where you were. I felt my world collapse. My 9-year-old daughter. Scared. Alone. Calling her father because her mother had abandoned her for a man who thought she was just fun. I'll do anything, I whispered. Therapy. Counseling. Whatever it takes. Robert picked up his keys. I did that already. I begged you to work on us when I messed up. And you did. You were incredible. You were strong and forgiving in everything I didn't deserve. But I'm not you, Amanda. I don't have that in me. Not for this. Not after everything. He left. Filed for divorce the next week. My lawyer said I didn't have a strong case for primary custody. Robert had documentation of my affair. Proof I'd left the kids alone. Character witnesses who testified to my changed behavior over the past months. I could fight it. But I'd lose. And I'd put my children through hell in the process. So I didn't fight. I signed everything. Every other weekend. Holidays alternating. Summer split. My children living full-time with their father while I became a visitor in their lives. The divorce was final in 4 months. Fastest either of our lawyers had ever seen. The divorce was final on a Tuesday in March. I signed the papers in a conference room that smelled like old coffee and regret. Robert didn't look at me once. His lawyer slid the documents across the table. I signed where the little yellow arrows pointed, and that was it. 11 years dissolved in 45 minutes. I thought that was rock bottom. I thought losing my marriage and my kids' daily presence was the worst consequence I'd face. I was wrong. The first weekend I had Lily and Lucas was torture. They arrived on Friday evening with their backpacks and this careful politeness that broke me. Like I was a distant relative they were obligated to visit, not their mother. Did you have a good week at school? I asked Lily as I made dinner. Fine. What did you learn about? Stuff. Lucas wouldn't even look at me. He was 6 years old and he'd already learned how to punish me with silence. He played with his toys in the corner of the living room, building elaborate Lego structures and knocking them down without making a sound. I tried everything that weekend. Their favorite meals. A movie marathon. Baking cookies together. But there was this wall between us that I couldn't break through. They were there physically, but emotionally they'd already left me. Sunday night, when Robert came to pick them up, Lily hugged him so tight. Like she'd been holding her breath all weekend and could finally exhale. Lucas ran to the car without saying goodbye. "How'd it go?" Robert asked. Still not looking at me. "Fine." He nodded. Loaded their backpacks into his trunk. Started to leave. "Robert, wait." He stopped but didn't turn around. "I'm sorry. I know I've said it before, but I need you to know that I'm truly, deeply sorry. Not just for the affair. For all of it. For breaking us. For hurting the kids. For being the person who destroyed our family." He was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, without turning around, "I know you are. But sorry doesn't fix this. Sorry doesn't undo what you did. Sorry doesn't make our kids feel safe with you again." He got in his car and drove away with my children. That's when the real consequences started. My friend Jenna, the one whose house I'd supposedly been at all those nights, stopped answering my calls. She sent me one text: "I can't be friends with someone who'd lie to me like that and put me in that position. Don't contact me again." My other friends from our couples group sided with Robert. Of course they did. They'd watched him grovel for forgiveness after his affair. They'd watched me hold my head high and work through it with grace. And now? Now I was the cautionary tale. The woman who proved that betrayal was unforgivable when it came from the wrong person. My mother called me 2 weeks after the divorce was final. "Your father and I think you should know that we won't be lying for you anymore," she said. Her voice was cold. Disappointed. "Your sister asked what happened with you and Robert." I told her the truth. "Mom, please." "Please what, Amanda? Please pretend you didn't throw away a good marriage? Please act like you didn't abandon your children for some man who didn't even want you?" That last part hit like a physical blow. Nathan didn't even want me. My own mother knew it. Everyone knew it. I made a mistake. No. You made a series of choices. Bad ones. And now you have to live with them. Your father and I love you, but we're not going to pretend this is anything other than what it is. You did this. You own it. She hung up. My sister stopped inviting me to family events. Said it would be too awkward with Robert there. He's the kid's father. They need him there more than they need you right now, she said, like I was an optional accessory to my own children's lives. Easter came and went without me. I saw pictures on Facebook. Lily and Lucas in their Easter outfits, hunting for eggs in my parents' backyard. Robert standing with my family, smiling. The happy blended group -1. Me. I'd been erased. Work became unbearable. My boss called me into her office in April. "Amanda, I need to talk to you about your performance." I knew what was coming. I'd been late 17 times in 2 months. Missed deadlines. Showed up to meetings unprepared. I was drowning and it showed. "I know I've been struggling," I started. She held up her hand. "I'm going to be direct. We're letting you go. This isn't about the divorce. We've had other employees go through personal issues and we've worked with them. But you've been unreliable since before the divorce. The affair with Nathan happened during work hours. Multiple times. In a hotel that we've used for corporate events. It reflects poorly on the company." My face went hot. "How do you know about Nathan?" "People talk, Amanda. You weren't as discreet as you thought. And frankly, it doesn't matter. What matters is that your personal choices have affected your professional reputation. We're giving you 2 weeks severance. Clean out your desk today." I was walked out by security. Carrying a cardboard box with my plant and my coffee mug and a picture of Lily and Lucas from 2 years ago when they still looked at me with love. I was 34 years old. Divorced. Unemployed. Estranged from my children, my friends, my family. And it got worse. I couldn't afford the apartment I'd rented after Robert got the house. Severance ran out fast. Unemployment barely covered groceries. I applied to 43 jobs in 6 weeks. Got 3 interviews. No offers. One HR person was honest enough to tell me why. "Your previous employer gave you a neutral reference, which is essentially a red flag. And when we looked into it further, we heard some concerning things about your conduct. I'm sorry, but we're going in another direction." My reputation had spread. In a medium-sized city, in a mid-sized industry, Word travels fast. The woman who had an affair with a vendor during work hours and got fired. That's who I was now. I had to move in with my sister in June. She made it clear it was temporary. You can stay in the spare room, but Amanda, you need to figure this out. I have my own family. My own life. I can't support you indefinitely. The spare room was actually her home office. I slept on an air mattress between her filing cabinets and her Peloton bike. I was allowed to use the main bathroom but had to keep my stuff in a plastic bin under the sink. I was living like a college student at 34. And I deserved it. God, I deserved all of it. My next weekend with the kids was at my sister's house. They hated it. Lucas asked where my apartment was. Lily looked around the cramped spare room with barely concealed disgust. This is where you live now? Lily asked. Just temporarily, honey. Until I find a new job and can get my own place again. Dad said you got fired. Of course he did. Because it was true. Because Robert wasn't going to lie to protect me anymore. I did. I made some mistakes at work. You make a lot of mistakes, Lily said. Not cruelly. Just factually. Like she was observing the weather. That night, Lucas had a nightmare. He woke up crying for his dad. Not me. His dad. I tried to comfort him but he pushed me away. I want Daddy. I want to go home. Lucas, baby, Daddy will pick you up tomorrow. It's okay. This isn't home. I want my real home. I want Daddy. He cried for an hour. I sat on the edge of the air mattress, listening to my 6-year-old son sob for a home I destroyed, and I finally understood the weight of what I'd done. I hadn't just betrayed Robert. I'd betrayed my children. I'd taken their stable, safe world and detonated it for 4 months of feeling special. Lily barely spoke to me the rest of the weekend. When Robert came to get them, Lucas ran to him like he was being rescued. Lily gave me a stiff hug and whispered, "We don't have to come next time if you don't have a real place for us." Robert heard. I saw his jaw tighten. But he didn't say anything. Just loaded the kids in the car and left. The following Tuesday, I got an email from Robert's lawyer. He was filing for a custody modification, requesting that visits be reduced to 1 weekend per month and supervised until I established stable housing and employment. I didn't fight it. What was the point? I couldn't provide stable housing. I couldn't provide anything. The judge approved it in July. 1 weekend a month. Supervised by a court-appointed monitor at a neutral location. My children sitting across from me in a sterile room at a family services building while a stranger took notes on our interaction. Lily stopped pretending to be okay during those visits. She'd sit there with her arms crossed, answering my questions with one-word responses, counting down the minutes until she could leave. Lucas would at least play with the toys they had there, but he never asked me to play with him. He'd build with blocks or color while I watched from across the room, the supervisor writing notes about how my son ignored me for the entire 2-hour visit. I tried to find Nathan once. 3 months after everything imploded. I was drunk and desperate and convinced that if I could just talk to him, he'd realize we had something real. That he'd made a mistake? I showed up at his apartment building at 11 p.m. on a Saturday. Buzzed his unit. No answer. Buzzed again. And again. Finally, a woman's voice came through the intercom. Stop buzzing or I'm calling the police. Not Nathan. A woman. He'd already moved on. Already found someone new to make feel special and interesting and alive. I sat in my car outside his building and cried until I threw up. That's when I finally understood. Nathan had never loved me. He'd probably never even really liked me. I was convenient. Available. An ego boost. A distraction from whatever was missing in his life. And I'd burned down my entire existence for him. I started therapy in August. Court mandated as part of the custody modification. Had to prove I was working on my issues if I ever wanted unsupervised visits again. My therapist was kind but direct. Amanda, you need to accept that some things can't be fixed. Your marriage is over. Your relationship with your children is damaged. Your professional reputation is compromised. These are consequences. You can work through the pain, but you can't undo the damage. So what's the point? I asked. If I can't fix it, why bother? Because you still have a life to live. Because your children still need a mother, even if she's flawed. Because you owe it to yourself to become someone better than the person who made these choices. I wanted to believe her. I tried to believe her. But every supervised visit with my kids, every rejection letter from jobs I was overqualified for, every holiday spent alone while my children celebrated with Robert and my family, every time I caught my reflection and didn't recognize the hollow-eyed woman staring back, I felt the truth. Some mistakes can't be forgiven. Some damage can't be repaired. Some people don't get second chances. In September, I found a job. Receptionist at a dental office. Barely above minimum wage. No benefits. But it was something. I could start rebuilding. I got a studio apartment in October. 400 square feet. The bathroom door didn't close all the way. The radiator clanged all night. But it was mine. A place I could bring my kids if I ever got unsupervised visits back. I furnished it carefully. Got a futon that could be a couch during the day and a bed at night. Bought a small kitchen table with 2 chairs. Put up cheerful posters. Made it as kid-friendly as possible with my limited budget. I took pictures and sent them to Robert's lawyer. Evidence that I had stable housing now. Proof that I was getting my life together. The lawyer forwarded them to Robert. I know because Robert sent me one text. The first direct communication we'd had in months. It's good you have a place. But the kids aren't ready for unsupervised visits yet. Give them time. Time. That was the thing I didn't have. Lily was 9 going on 16. Lucas was becoming a different person every month. They were growing up without me. Every visit I could see it. The distance growing wider. The memories of me as their real mother fading. At Thanksgiving, I wasn't invited to my parents' house. I spent the day alone in my studio, eating takeout Chinese food and scrolling through Facebook photos of my family gathered around the table. Lily and Lucas smiling. Robert carving the turkey like he belonged there. My mother hugging my sister's kids. Everyone I loved in one picture. Everyone but me. Christmas was worse. I got the kids for Christmas Eve afternoon. 4 supervised hours at the family services building. I'd bought them presents I couldn't afford. Wrapped them carefully. Written heartfelt cards. Lily opened hers politely. Thanks, Mom. No enthusiasm. No joy. Just obligation. Lucas didn't even finish opening his. Got distracted by the blocks again. Left my carefully chosen gift sitting half unwrapped on the table. I tried to talk to them about school, their friends, their lives. But they'd learned to keep me at arm's length. To share nothing real. To give me just enough to get through the visit without drama. When Robert came to pick them up, Lucas ran to him yelling, "Daddy, Daddy." Like he'd been rescued from a hostage situation. Lily hung back for a moment. Looked at me with these old, tired eyes. "Mom, can I ask you something?" "Of course, baby. Anything." "Why did you do it? Why did you ruin everything?" The supervisor was watching. Taking notes. But I didn't care. I owed my daughter honesty. Because I was selfish. Because I was broken and I made terrible choices. Because I thought I deserved something I didn't. And because I didn't understand what I had until it was gone. Lily nodded. "Dad said you'd say that." "What else did he say?" "He said you were sick for a while. That you made mistakes when you were sick. But that you're getting better now. He said we should give you a chance when we're ready." Robert was being more generous to me than I'd ever been to myself. After everything I'd done, he was leaving the door open for his children to have a relationship with their mother. I started crying. Right there in the supervised visit room. Lily watched me cry with that same detached observation. Like she was studying a stranger. "I love you," I said. "Both of you. More than anything. I know I messed up. I know I hurt you. But I love you." "I know," Lily said. "Not I love you too. Just I know." She left with her brother and her father. I sat in that room for 20 minutes after they were gone, crying while the supervisor pretended not to notice. In January, I got a message on LinkedIn. A former colleague. We'd been friendly before everything fell apart. "Hey Amanda, heard you're looking for work. We have an opening at my company. It's entry-level but better than reception. Interested?" It was a lifeline. A chance to start rebuilding my career. I interviewed and got the offer. Project coordinator. Barely more than I was making at the dental office but with benefits and room to grow. I accepted immediately. Started in February. My new coworkers didn't know my story. They saw me as a fresh start. Professional. Competent. Someone who'd had some career setbacks but was getting back on track. I kept my head down. Did good work. Didn't socialize much. Didn't want to risk anyone looking too closely at my history. Things were getting marginally better. I had a job with a future. An apartment. Regular therapy. I was making my supervised visits. Paying my child support on time. Doing everything right. But then April came. Lily turned 10. Robert was throwing her a birthday party. At the house. Our house. The one I'd lost in the divorce. I wasn't invited. I understood. It made sense. It would be awkward. The kids' friends would be there. Their parents. People who knew what I'd done. But it still destroyed me. My daughter's 10th birthday and I wasn't there. I sent a present. An expensive one I couldn't afford. A laptop she'd been wanting. Wrapped in perfect paper with a card that said happy birthday to my beautiful girl. Love always, Mom. Robert texted me 2 days later. Lily loved the laptop. Thank you. But Amanda, you can't buy your way back into their lives. They need consistent presents, not expensive gifts. He was right. Again. He was always right now. Can I at least call her on her birthday? I texted back. You called at 3 p.m. She was at her party. You knew that. I had known. I'd called anyway. Left a voicemail singing happy birthday to no one. Desperate and pathetic. I'm sorry, I wrote. He didn't respond. In May, I got a call from my lawyer. Robert was filing for another custody modification. He wanted to terminate my supervised visits and move to phone calls only until I completed a court-ordered parenting program. What happened? I asked. Apparently Lily told the school counselor that the visits were stressing her out. That she felt obligated to go and it was making her anxious. The counselor filed a report. Robert's lawyer is using it to argue that the visits are harmful. My visits with my children were being classified as harmful. To them. My presence in their lives was documented psychological damage. I fought this one. Got my own lawyer. Showed up to court. Testified about how I'd done everything asked of me. Stable housing. Stable employment. Regular therapy. No missed visits. No violations. The judge listened. Looked at the reports. Looked at me. Ms. Patterson, I appreciate the work you've done to stabilize your life. But my primary concern is the well-being of the children. And according to their therapist and the school counselor, these visits are causing Lily significant distress. Lucas is too young to articulate his feelings, but his therapist notes marked behavioral changes before and after visits with you. Your Honor, please. They're my children. I made mistakes, but I'm their mother. You are their biological mother. But motherhood is about more than biology. It's about putting your children's needs first. Something you failed to do when you had an affair and left them alone at night. Something you're failing to do now by insisting on visits that hurt them. The gavel came down. Phone calls only. Twice a month. 15 minutes each. Supervised by a court-appointed monitor who'd listen to ensure I didn't say anything inappropriate. I walked out of that courtroom understanding that I'd lost my children. Not physically. They were still alive. Still in the same city. But they weren't mine anymore. That night, I sat in my studio apartment with a bottle of wine and my laptop. I started writing. Everything. The whole story. The affair. The consequences. The loss. I wrote for 6 hours straight. Purging it all. Confession and warning and regret poured into a document no one would ever read. When I finished, the sun was coming up. I'd written 20,000 words. The complete history of how I destroyed my life. I saved it. Titled it The Forgiveness That Broke Everything. Then I closed my laptop and called my therapist's emergency line. I'm not going to hurt myself, I said when she answered. But I need you to know that I finally understand. Some mistakes don't get forgiven. Some people don't get their lives back. I'm one of them. My therapist made me come in for an emergency session that morning. We talked for 2 hours. She adjusted my medication. Made me promise to check in daily. But she didn't disagree with me. She didn't say I was wrong. She just said, understanding that is the first step to building something new. Not your old life. You can't have that back. But something new. Something worth living for even without your old life. I wanted to believe her. My first phone call with the kids was a disaster. Lily answered when the monitor called. I could hear the reluctance in her voice. Hi, Mom. Hi, baby. How are you? Fine. How's school? Fine. Did you have a good week? Yeah. Silence. Dead air. I scrambled for something to say. Anything to fill the 15 minutes. I miss you, I said. More silence. Lily? Are you there? Yeah. I don't know what to say, Mom. This is weird. I know it's weird, sweetheart. But I love you. I love you so much. I know I messed up. I know I hurt you. But I'm trying to be better. I'm trying to be the mom you deserve. Okay. Not convinced. Not even really listening. Can I talk to Lucas? He's playing. He doesn't really want to talk. My 6-year-old son didn't want to talk to me. Didn't even want to take the phone. That's okay. Tell him I love him? Sure. Lily, The monitor says time's up. Bye, Mom. Click. 15 minutes. I got 15 minutes every 2 weeks to maintain a connection with my children. And even that was too much for them. I cried for an hour after that call. Then I went to work and pretended everything was fine. June came. Then July. The phone calls continued. Always the same. Awkward. Painful. Lily doing her obligation. Lucas not even bothering. I kept working. Kept going to therapy. Kept living in my studio apartment. Kept pretending I was building towards something. But the truth was settling in my bones. Heavy and permanent. I'd forgiven my husband's affair because I loved him. Because I believed in our marriage. Because I thought forgiveness was strength. And then I'd become exactly what I'd forgiven. But worse. So much worse. Robert had begged for forgiveness. Had done the work. Had been transparent and humble and broken. I'd lied. I'd hidden. I'd justified. I'd blamed. I'd made excuses. And when I got caught, I claimed his affair entitled me to mine. Like pain was a permission slip. Like being hurt meant I could hurt others. My children paid the price. Not Robert. Not Nathan. My babies. The innocent ones. Lily would grow up knowing her mother chose a stranger over her. Lucas wouldn't even remember me as his real mom. Just the woman he talked to on the phone sometimes. The obligation. In August, I got an email from Robert. The first one in months. Subject, moving. Amanda, I wanted you to hear this from me. I got a job offer in Seattle. It's an incredible opportunity. Better pay, better position. I'm taking it. We're moving in October. I'll make sure you have our new address and phone number. The custody arrangement will stay the same. Phone calls. But I wanted you to know that we're leaving. Seattle. Across the country. My children would be 3,000 miles away. I called him. He actually answered. Robert, please. Don't take them that far from me. Amanda, this isn't about you. This is about what's best for the kids. Better schools. Better opportunities. A fresh start where they're not constantly reminded of what happened. They're my children too. Then you should have thought about that before you left them alone at night to sleep with another man. The words hit like a punch. True and brutal. I can't lose them completely, I whispered. You already did, Robert said. Not cruel. Just factual. You lost them the moment you made that choice. Everything since then has just been you watching them drift further away. At least in Seattle they can start over. Be normal kids again. Not the ones whose mom destroyed their family. Please. I'm sorry, Amanda. I really am. But this conversation is over. He hung up. They moved in October. I didn't get to say goodbye in person. One last phone call. Lily crying. Lucas asking when he'd see me again. Me lying and saying soon, baby, I'll visit soon, knowing I couldn't afford a plane ticket to Seattle. My children were gone. November came. My birthday. 35 years old. Alone in a studio apartment. Working an entry-level job. Estranged from everyone who'd ever mattered to me. I got one text. From Lily. Happy birthday, Mom. That was it. 4 words. Obligation. I texted back, thank you, sweetheart. I love you. She didn't respond. That night, I sat on my futon and looked at my life. Really looked at it. This was my future. This was what I'd built. Loneliness. Distance. Consequence. I thought about the moment in that parking garage. The moment I kissed Nathan. If I could go back, would I? Yes. 1,000 times yes. I'd walk away. I'd go home to my husband and my children. I'd remember what I had. I'd hold on to it with everything in me. But I can't go back. No one can. We make our choices and then we live with them. Forever. I opened my laptop. Found the document I'd written months ago. The forgiveness that broke everything. I read through it. All of it. Every terrible, honest word. Then I did something I never thought I'd do. I posted it. Anonymously. On a forum for infidelity. A confession. A warning. The responses came in within hours. Hundreds of them. Some were sympathetic. You made mistakes, but you're human. Some were vicious. You deserved everything you got and worse. But the ones that hit hardest were the simple ones. Thank you for sharing. I almost cheated on my husband last week. I was justifying it the same way you did. Your story stopped me. Reading this made me realize what I'm about to throw away. I'm ending my affair today. My mom did what you did. I haven't spoken to her in 8 years. I'm glad you understand what you cost your kids. I'd become the cautionary tale. The warning label on bad decisions. And maybe that was my purpose now. Not to rebuild my old life. Not to win back my children. Not to be forgiven. But to stand as evidence. Living proof that some choices can't be undone. Some damage can't be repaired. Some people don't get second chances. It's December now. Almost a year since Robert moved the kids to Seattle. I've seen them once. Flew out for Lucas's 7th birthday. 3 hours supervised at a family services building in a city I don't know. He barely recognized me. Lily was polite. Distant. Like I was an aunt she didn't particularly like. I flew home alone. Back to my studio. Back to my job. Back to my carefully constructed life of consequence. I'm not writing this for sympathy. I'm not writing this for forgiveness. I'm writing this for the woman reading this right now who's justifying an emotional affair. Who thinks her spouse's past betrayal entitles her to her own? Who thinks she can manage 2 lives without destroying both? I'm writing this for the woman who thinks forgiveness means permission. Who thinks pain grants her a free pass to cause more pain? I'm writing this for the woman who hasn't made the choice yet but is standing on the edge. Don't do it. Whatever you think you'll gain, you won't. Whatever you think you deserve, you don't. Not this way. Because the affair will end. The man who makes you feel special will leave. He won't choose you. He won't save you. He won't even remember you 6 months from now. But your children will remember. They'll remember that you chose a stranger over them. They'll remember the fear and the confusion and the broken home. They'll carry it forever. Your spouse might forgive you. Mine didn't. But even if they do, you won't forgive yourself. Every time you look at your kids, you'll see what you almost lost. What you did lose, in pieces. I forgave my cheating husband. And it should have reminded me of the devastation of betrayal. Should have made me more committed to our marriage. Should have taught me the value of what we'd rebuilt. Instead, I used it as justification. As permission. As proof that everyone was fallible so my fallibility was acceptable. I was wrong. And now I'm 35 years old. Alone. Paying child support for kids I talk to twice a month on supervised phone calls. Working an entry-level job. Living in 400 square feet. Estranged from my family. Haunted by the ghost of who I used to be. This is the rest of my life? This is what I built with my choices. I don't get my family back. I don't get redemption. I don't get a happily ever after. I get consequence. Forever. So before you send that text, before you meet for that drink, before you make that choice, read this. Read what happens after. Read what you lose. Read what your life becomes. And then walk away. Because I promise you, whatever you think is waiting on the other side of that affair, it isn't worth what you'll pay. I know. I'm still paying.